And welcome, students, as we continue our journey into Python. Today we're going to discuss the topic of conditionals. All right, we're going to start off by discussing the very first conditional, which is the if conditional. Now, in order to understand why we might want to use a conditional, which is another way of thinking of it as a comparison statement, let's just go ahead and just make some quick numbers. So I'm just going to say like do num1 set equal to 3. And let's say num2 is going to be a user input, okay? So we don't necessarily know what num2 is. But maybe we wanted to say, hey, one is larger, one is smaller, just a very basic program, right? Well, we know that, normally say, let's say num2 is a 2. Well, then it would be smaller. So let's just write code that checks to see if it's smaller. So if is going to be the phrase we're going to use because it's like if something is true, we're going to do it. Kind of like if then like you see in English. So if num1 is greater than num2, and then we just put a colon. Hit enter, and you can see that it indents over. And we're going to say print num1 is greater than num2. Okay. And if we run our program, it's right now waiting for us to input a number. So if I input 2, I get num1 is greater than num2. Pretty easy. So that's a very basic example of how to use an if statement. Now, what's if I, let's say, wanted to change this to be the other way? So I'm going to come down here, hit enter, and hit backspace. If num1 is less than num2, print num1 is less than num2. Right? So we're going to do the same thing. So now let's say I type in 4. I get num1 is less than 4. All right? And you'll notice that it skipped over this first one this time, the greater than statement, because it was not true. So because we knew that this part right here with this being 4, well, that's not true. All right? Now, obviously, there's one other case that you could do, which is that of equals. So if num1 equals num2, print num1 is equal to. All right, and so now if we run the program, and let's say I put 3, we get num1 is equal to num2. Now, of course, this is all great, but what's if the numbers were less than or equal to? So let's do if num1 is less than or equal to num2, and we run our program. And I put 3 again. You'll see that here it will output multiples of these at the same time. So because this is less than, or equal to, I should say, num2, and it's also equal to it. So each one of these conditions is met. Now, next time we, of course, will look to see what happens to really help differentiate it, to help pulling these apart so we don't just have just if. We're going to look at the other components of conditionals, but this is how you can do it. So obviously you can do greater than, you can do less than, you can do greater than equal to, less than equal to, which of course you've noticed is a double equal sign. Very important there, that use a double equal sign. So a double equal sign when we're comparing with an if statement simply just means that we want to compare this. A single equal sign means give it a value. So whenever you do your if, just remember to keep that in mind. Now, the only one I didn't show was not equal to. So if you want to compare something that's not equal to, you just put an exclamation point there instead of another equal sign. All right. So that is how you can compare numbers. Now, we can also compare strings. Now, I'm going to go real quickly, create 2 strings here. So I'm just going to call this word1 and equal that to, let's say, hello. And let's say word2, and I'm going to set equal to hello, but I'm going to use a capital H. So what we can do is when we want to compare two strings to see if they're equal, I can say if word1 equals word2, colon, and I'm just going to print the strings are equal. So if these words are exactly the same, it should say that they're equal. So if I run my code, let's go ahead and put in 3 or 5. All right, you notice that it did not say the strings equal because this is a lowercase h, this is an uppercase h. If I change it to where they are the same and I run my code, you can see the message appears. All right, so that is very important to keep that in mind, that this, of course, will only work if the two values are equal. So that's how you compare things inside of Python. So with that being said, when we come back next time, we're going to deal with the else component.